You don't start the day planning to overspend. You tell yourself you're going to be good today. You'll cook at home. You'll only buy what you need. You'll finally get serious about money. And then the day actually happens. The email from your boss with quick feedback that isn't quick at all. The client who changes everything at the last minute. The family message that stirs up old tension. The notification about another bill that's higher than you expected. By the time you get home, your body is tired, your brain is fried, and some quiet part of you is just thinking one thing. I need a break. You open your phone. You tell yourself you're just going to scroll for a second. Then you see it. A video of someone unboxing something new. A friend posting their takeout with treating myself. An ad that says, you deserve this. You feel it immediately. That little pull. You open the food delivery app. You know you have food at home. But the idea of cooking feels impossible. You pick something that's a bit more than you'd usually spend because today was rough. And while you're waiting for the food, you find yourself on another app. You see a shirt or headphones or some little gadget that promises to simplify your life. You add to cart. You're not even fully conscious of the decision. It's like watching your own hand move. For a moment, there's relief. Something to look forward to. A small hit of, at least I get this. The next morning, you open your banking app or your credit card app, and that wave of guilt hits you. Why did I do that? I said I wouldn't do this again. I know better. What is wrong with me? You promise yourself you'll make up for it later. But later comes with its own stress, and the cycle starts again. This is not your fault. It's a psychological loop caused by the way stress, your brain chemistry, and a profit-driven system all intersect. You're not bad with money because you overspend when you're stressed. You're human in an environment that has learned exactly how to monetize that stress. Here's what most people miss. Overspending is not primarily a money problem. It's a nervous system problem that shows up in your bank account. When you're stressed, your brain is flooded with hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your body shifts into survival mode. In that state, your brain doesn't care about retirement, compounding interest, or long-term wealth. It cares about one thing: making the bad feelings stop. The quickest way to do that in the modern world? Dopamine. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It's not just released when you get the thing. It's released when you're about to get it. That moment when you hit place order? That's dopamine. That moment when you click confirm purchase? Dopamine. In the United States, surveys consistently show that around 60% of adults say money is a significant source of stress in their lives. Many surveys put finances as the #1 cause of stress. And at the same time, U.S. consumer spending on things like food delivery, online shopping, and subscriptions has exploded over the last decade. This isn't a coincidence. Let's do some uncomfortable math. Maybe on a stressful week, you order food an extra 2 or 3 times instead of cooking. Each order is $20 to $30 when you include delivery fees, tax, and tip. You tell yourself, it's just $20. I had a rough day. But if just $20 happens 3 times a week, that's $60 a week. Over a month, that's about $240. Over a year, that's $2,880. Now imagine half of that isn't essentials. It's stress spending. That's roughly $1,400 a year just for emotional relief. If, instead, you were able to redirect even $100 of that a month into a simple index fund with an average annual return of 7%, after 10 years, you would have around $17,000. Instead, those $20 hits of dopamine disappear into the past. But the real trap is, you didn't do it because you're stupid. You did it because your brain was trying to protect you from emotional pain in the only way it knew how in that moment. And the system around you knows this. Every notification, every algorithm, Every limited time offer is built on the assumption that you are tired, stressed, and looking for a hit of feel a little better right now. It goes deeper than that, because the very stress that makes you overspend is often caused by the same financial pressures that overspending makes worse. You live in a world where the cost of simply existing feels heavier every year. In the US, a majority of people live paycheck to paycheck. Some reports estimate that around 60 to 65% of Americans would struggle to cover a $1,000 emergency with savings. That means one unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, a broken phone, doesn't just create stress, it creates panic. When your bank balance is fragile, every decision feels high stakes. Should I fix this now? Can I afford this? What happens if? This is what psychologists call cognitive load. The more mental energy you're forced to spend juggling problems, the less capacity you have for long-term planning and thoughtful decision-making. Imagine your brain as a computer with a limited amount of RAM. Rent, bills, debt, job insecurity, family responsibilities, each one eats up space. By the time you get to the question, what's the best way to manage my money long-term, there's almost nothing left to work with. And here's what most people miss. When your brain is overloaded, you default to the option that reduces stress fastest, not the option that makes the most sense. So when you're hit with stress, and a $40 purchase can temporarily turn that noise down, of course you're going to be tempted, not because it's rational, but because in that moment, it feels like survival. Now add debt to the equation. Let's say a few of these stress purchases, plus a couple of emergencies you couldn't cover in cash, end up on a credit card. In the US, the average annual percentage rate, APR, on credit card accounts that carry a balance has hovered around 20% to 24% in recent years. Suppose you carry a balance of $2,000 at 24%, APR. If you only make the minimum payment, say 3% of the balance, around $60 a month, it could take you more than a decade to pay it off, depending on how the lender sets the minimum. Over time, you might pay over $2,000 just in interest. That's enough to buy all those stress purchases twice. The original $40 wasn't what hurt you. The interest on the long-term pattern did. Now imagine that instead of going onto a credit card, that same $60 minimum payment every month went into an investment with a 7% annual return. After 10 years, that could be worth around $10,000? Two identical streams of money. One quietly builds your future, the other quietly chains it down. But the real trap is, the more those credit card payments pile up, the more stressed you feel. And the more stressed you feel, the more your brain looks for small, immediate ways to feel better, which often leads right back to spending. Stress leads to spending, leads to guilt, leads to debt, leads to more stress. It goes deeper than that, because shame slips in right after dopamine leaves. You buy the thing, you feel a brief high, then the package arrives, or the food is gone, or the night out ends, and there's this hollow feeling in your chest. That didn't fix anything, and now I'm even more behind. Instead of seeing this as a predictable, understandable reaction to a high-stress environment, you turn it into a story about your character. I have no discipline. I'm just bad with money. I'll never get my life together. Shame doesn't help you change. It paralyzes you. It makes you avoid your banking app. Avoid looking at your statements. Avoid making a plan. Because every time you get close to the numbers, you don't just see dollars. You see failure. In the US, the average credit card balance per person with debt is often in the range of $5,000 to $6,000. At an APR of around 22%, making only minimum payments can turn that into a multi-year sentence of watching your money evaporate into interest. Let's say you have $5,000 at 22% APR. If your minimum payment starts at around 2 to 3%, maybe you're paying about $100 a month. If you never add to the debt and you stick with only the minimum, you could end up paying thousands of dollars in interest and take well over a decade to escape. Now look at what that does psychologically. Every month, $100 disappears from your account, not to buy anything, not to experience anything, but just to rent the right to not be in default. Here's what most people miss. You're not just paying interest on money. You're paying interest on moments when you were in pain and didn't know what else to do. And then you're telling yourself that those moments make you a bad person. They don't. They make you a person whose nervous system was trying to cope. But the real trap is, the companies charging you interest are not neutral observers in this loop. They benefit when you're stuck in it. Buy now, pay later options. One-click checkout. No payments for 6 months. Apps that store your cards so well, you don't even remember the number anymore. Limited time offers. Flash sales. Notifications that hit at 8 p.m. when most people are tired and more impulsive. None of that is an accident. You live in an environment where entire teams of people are paid to figure out how to make it as easy as possible for you to spend when you're at your weakest. So if you've ever wondered, why do I keep doing this when I know it's bad for me? The answer isn't that there's something uniquely broken about you. The answer is your brain under stress is predictable. And they know that. It goes deeper than that. Because the goal isn't just to get you to spend once, it's to get you used to using spending as a coping mechanism. Once that association is solid, they don't have to work as hard. Your own brain will do it for them. Bad day? Order something. Lonely? Buy something. Overwhelmed? Add to cart. Numb? Scroll? Click, confirm. So where does that leave you? Stuck between two kinds of suffering. The suffering of constant restraint, saying no to every small comfort because you're scared of the future. Or the suffering of temporary relief, followed by long-term financial pain. But what if those weren't the only options? What if the first step isn't never spend emotionally again, but understand what's actually happening when I do? What if you could start to see stress spending not as proof you're broken, but as a signal that your nervous system is overloaded and needs care, not punishment? Imagine this. Next time you have the urge to buy something after a stressful day, you pause for 3 seconds and silently say to yourself, I'm not actually buying this object, I'm buying a feeling. That tiny moment of honesty doesn't mean you won't buy it, but it creates a crack in the automatic loop. Then imagine you pick one small alternative, dopamine source you can go to before you spend, something that soothes your nervous system without wrecking your bank account. A walk, a hot shower, writing down everything that's stressing you, calling a friend, 5 minutes of breathing with your phone in another room. Not as a moral test, not as be strong and resist, just as an experiment. What if I try to calm my body first and see what I actually need? Because here's what most people miss. When your body is even a little less activated, your relationship to money shifts. You're more likely to see the long-term cost. You're more likely to feel the weight of the debt instead of just the pull of the purchase. And when you do buy something, it's more likely to be a conscious choice instead of an unconscious reflex. Over time, those small shifts compound. The $40 you didn't spend every week becomes $160 a month, $1,920 a year. Some of that might simply mean less debt. Some of it might slowly become savings, perhaps eventually investments. If even $50 a month stops going to interest and starts going to your future at 7% annual growth, in 10 years that alone could be around $8,000. Not life-changing money by itself, but proof. Proof to your brain that you are capable of building, not just surviving. So no, this video won't magically erase your stress. It won't fix a system where basic things cost more than they should. It won't stop companies from engineering temptation into every corner of your life, but it might give you something more powerful than willpower or shame. It might give you a different story, a story where overspending when you're stressed isn't a sign that you're hopeless, but a sign that you've been trying to regulate your pain in the only way you were taught. A story where understanding the loop is the first step to stepping out of it. So, let me ask you, when you think about your last 3 regret purchases, what were you really trying to buy in that moment? Relief? Validation? Numbness? A sense of control? What would it look like to give yourself that feeling in a way that doesn't chain your future to interest payments? If you stopped seeing yourself as bad with money and started seeing yourself as someone whose nervous system has been under attack in a system that profits from your exhaustion, how would that change the way you treat yourself the next time you overspend? You don't have to fix everything overnight. You don't have to become perfectly disciplined. You don't have to stop every emotional purchase forever. But you can start noticing. You can start interrupting the loop, even for a few seconds. You can start redirecting tiny amounts of money and compassion toward your future self. And if you want to keep understanding how this game really works and how to stop thinking you're the problem, when the system is, you know where to find me.